Recording in progress.
Okay. We'll set up and where I come out and we'll look, okay?
We good? Ready?
Channel 17, please start recording.
Last 2 days. Yeah, last 2 days. Okay. Welcome to TMAC this beautiful August 20th, 2026 morning. It's 12:30 and we would like to go around and do introductions. And as you're doing your introductions, if you have any conflict of interest, please let us know. I'll go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Beth Provitz. I am TMAC Chair. I'll turn to Noah.
Noah Gordon, TMAC member.
Oh, no conflict, by the way.
We're supposed to all say for net no conflict. After less. No conflict. Items on the agenda.
I'm Ryan Kohler. I'm a contingent GMAC member, I guess, voting member. Yeah, I'm just here kind of as a involved. Yeah.
Any conflicts?
Oh, I wish there were.
Ashley, do you have public works?
Joseph Gandy, Public Works.
David Keller, GMAC, conflict free.
Randall Thurston, member, McKay on the council.
No conflicts.
I'm Greg McFarland, TMAC member, and I have no conflict.
Vern Kiesler, Provo City Engineering.
Kehan Shore, Provo City Engineering.
We're from Pleasant View Neighborhood. Lynn Thornton, Kathleen Lewis.
Richard Jensen.
Thank you. And
I'm Sergeant Brown, Provo City.
We have, Rachel.
Oh, perfect. Rachel, if you could unmute and just let us know real quick.
Yeah, Rachel Whipple here on the Provo City Council.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, our first item, or I guess our second item, is an action item, and we want to approve the minutes from June 11th. Do we have anybody who would like to approve those minutes? Excellent.
minutes.
Maybe. Do we have a second?
I second.
Thank you, Greg. Okay. Our first,
You need to take it.
Vote.
oh, yeah, oh, thanks. Is there, everybody in favor? Yep. Aye. Anybody opposed? Nope, perfect. Okay, our first discussion point is east-west accessibility analysis, and Greg is gonna take it from here.
All right, Kehan, can you pull up my slides? Okay, great. And do you mind if I control things and get a mouse here too? Okay, so I volunteered to do this a few months ago. I think that discussions like this east-west accessibility question are best informed by some kind of data and analysis rather than just feelings, although feelings are important and shouldn't be dismissed, but data on top of feelings is helpful. So I'm a professor in civil engineering at BYU, if you did not already know that. And I volunteered to give this presentation to look at a slightly different take on the east-west connection problem that we wanted to talk about this year than the one that Vern helpfully presented earlier this spring. So just kind of as a background overview of the perspective that I'm going to use in this analysis. Transportation, school started this week, right? And BYU is starting soon, you know this, so we're getting a little bit of education here. We'll even do an activity in a minute too. Transportation systems have to provide two things. They have to provide mobility, which is moving things along. They also have to provide accessibility, which is at the end of by the time you've gotten there, you have to be able to park or get out of the train or do something, right? There has to be an activity there at the end of your trip. Otherwise, there's no point in the transportation system. Vern presented about level of service analysis in his presentation a couple of months ago. Level of service is a really useful tool for looking at the quality of a traffic stream, really is what it tries to describe. And functionally, it is just the ratio, it's defined as the ratio between the flow rate on the road and the speed of traffic on the road. It is only a measure of mobility, right? It just looks at how fast can cars move down this road, how freely can they move down this road. It doesn't try to say anything about the other half of the transportation system, which is this accessibility piece. Functionally, the difference here, it doesn't matter how long it takes you to drive to Orem if the thing you want to go to is in Provo. Right? My in-laws live in Fairview. They never experience anything less than a level of service A. But it takes them 2 hours to go buy groceries because the nearest place to buy groceries is Ephraim. There's a little store in Mount Pleasant, right? But so they have very high level of service, but they actually have very low accessibility, which impedes their transportation, like quality of life. Right? So you have to have both. You have to have both a moving road and somewhere to go. And if you don't have both of those things, then the transportation system feels like it's not working for you. There are ways to measure this accessibility, and there are different ways of doing it. A simple one that we see a lot is, well, how many jobs can I reach from my home within 20 minutes or 40 minutes? And you can, put a point on a map, draw a line of how far away you can get in 40 minutes, count up the number of jobs in that space, and that's how you can make your measurement. How many customers live within 10 miles of my store? This is something that companies do all the time when they're trying to find, should we put in a new store somewhere? How many customers will be within my catchment range? How far away is the nearest grocery store? How far do I have to go to get to the thing I want to do? And then just as a general metric, how much total time do you spend traveling each day? Assuming that the places you're going to are the places you want to go to, how much total time do you spend traveling? That is itself an accessibility metric more than just a mobility one. So now is when we'll do our little activity. In front of you, you've got a colorful little diagram. It's made by professors in Germany, so the distance is in meters. Just use time, right? Just if you don't know how far a meter is, you don't have to. But just take a couple minutes and go through with your pencil or a pen and write down a few places you go to regularly and how far away from your home you wish they were. Okay, so this could be either what you're doing now, if you like it, or something better than what you're doing now. We'll just take a couple minutes for you to sort of work through this and get an idea for this.
Can we do the pencils again?
Yeah. Did anyone not get the sheet, the colorful sheet, Ryan? Officer, would you like to participate in this activity? Okay.
So this is how far we wish things were.
Yeah.
So you're basically asking, what are the things that we wish were close to us?
Yeah. Or, it's like, okay, I go to a grocery store a lot. I wish that my grocery store that I preferred was 10 minutes away from me, or whatever.
This is about said concert venue, that's very funny.
How far away would you like the concert venue to be, Councilwoman?
I drive to Salt Lake a lot. So just like really crazy, they're like, oh.
Man, I wish we had a closer concert venue. Not an agenda item today.
I think it's the things I go to a lot, like, drive in your valley a lot.
Yes, quite honestly, I like where I live versus where things are, so.
Yeah, well, then describe your day. Describe what you do now.
Well, choices though, because if you pick certain things, you're making it you're making yourself a big city. You're making, usually one thing goes with another and there's ramifications, so.
Potentially. And so, there may be different levels of things, right? Like maybe you want your primary care physician to be closer to you, but you wouldn't mind driving a further distance to get to a specialist or a major medical center or something like that. You could also think, I would really love to be able to get to Costco quickly, but I don't want to live immediately next door to a Costco.
Like a high school.
Yep, that's right. Like, teenagers are delightful one-on-one, and in a group, they're really difficult.
They're a wolf pack.
All right, I'll give you just another couple minutes to sort of think through this. This is not an exam. I'm not actually going to collect your data. You're welcome to go give this to your mother and put it on her fridge. Okay, so you probably got an idea of sort of how this would look for you. Some things you want closer, some things you don't mind being further away. But the idea is you have some kind of space that you would like to be able to perform your daily life in, right? That doesn't mean you don't want to travel to Europe, doesn't mean you don't want to go to Salt Lake occasionally. But if you go to Salt Lake for daily activities, maybe that wears down on you. Or maybe you commute there, and that's okay, right? So this is the idea here. Okay, so now with that background, this idea here is sort of at the core of this analysis that I've done. And this analysis is just an illustration of an analysis that can be done. I don't intend that this be the final word on this. I don't intend that this be like actual data or be used for actual decision making. This is just an illustration. Okay. So what did I do in this project? Well, I said, let's gather some destinations that people might want to go to and decide some threshold about what I think they should be able to travel to that distance. And it's just asserted we could collect the data. We could collect data like this from everyone in Provo and get more realistic curves and important scales, but we didn't do that here. I just asserted everything. Based on that, we can look at which neighborhoods have good access and bad access to various kinds of destinations. And then we can look at changes that we make to the roadway network or to the land use in Provo and see how that affects the accessibility of these neighborhoods. By the way, feel free to interrupt me at any point if something is unclear or if you just want to like dig in deeper on an idea. I don't have a particular timeline for how fast we get through this. So if you want to stop me, that's okay. So the points of interest that I picked for this, I chose elementary schools in Provo. These are Provo School District schools. I excluded charter schools, although they'll show up on the map. I didn't include them. I said you should be able to get to an elementary school in 5 minutes. Transportation notes, you should be able to get to these within 15 minutes. I included I-15 interchanges and front runner stations. Retail stores, 10 minutes, and grocery stores, 10 minutes, and parks, 5 minutes.
I say most of Provo cannot get to interchange.
Yeah, that's right. So I pulled all these points from OpenStreetMap for a couple that I made on, I made some maps on my own. Right, so these are the transportation nodes that I say you should be able to get to as many of these as possible in 15 minutes. Here are our grocery stores. This data is not perfect because I just scraped it from OpenStreetMap. There is a Alliance and Fence Supply that someone has put in as a grocery store. But you know what, that's fine because there's a Target here where people can buy some groceries that's not on the map. So this data is not perfect. Here are parks. There are a lot of retail stores. Basically anything where they sell goods is a retail. And then here are, again, the schools, although I've excluded like these charter schools and high schools from the actual analysis that I did. And like for the schools and transportation, we just did what's in Provo. For the retail, I picked all of Utah County, but functionally people can't get there in 10 minutes. So this is the data points of interest that we're looking at. Okay, for the highway network, I used the Wasatch Front Travel Demand Model Network calibrated for their 2019 base scenario. So it's not the most recent one, but it's the one I had most easily available. And I'm using the congested PM travel times. So I've colored these links by level of service. So dark green means this link has a level of service A, red means it has a level of service E or F. This road is not actually operating at level of service F. What it is the travel model dumps all of BYU's activity on these two roads. And so there's some aggregation problems that happen in the network from that. But overall, it's a decent network for just getting a skim of travel times. Pros of this, I can use congested travel times and I can adjust how fast the road is going. The cons of this, it does not have every road in it, right? It's just, you can see the roads that are included. It's just kind of high capacity facilities. We're missing all the, some collectors are in it, some are not, and all the local roads are missing.
So this data, it's 2019 data. It's not like MAG's projected forward data or anything like that.
No, this is the 2019 calibration data.
Base year.
Yeah, so they made it in 2022 using data that had been collected pre-pandemic. So from that network, I can drop a point anywhere in space and measure how far that person can get in the PM peak hour within these bands, right? So a point dropped in this neighborhood here, right at the mouth of the canyon, can get to this blue area in 5 minutes, the yellow area in 10, and the red area in 20, according to the travel model. Your mileage may vary. Yeah, it's like right at the mouth of Provo Canyon there. Well, you can zoom in. Where is this person? Yeah. Riverwoods. Yeah, Riverwoods. The Riverwoods is right here, kind of up on the hill there. I just picked this point at random to illustrate. This is not perfect, right? It looks for the nearest link in the network, so there's some distortion that happens. If the nearest link in the network happens to be I-15, then that means that they're stuck on a one-way link and have to go to the next exit before they can get back going the other way. I didn't force them to pick the nearest two-way link, but so there's a little bit of error that comes from that. But again, this is just for illustration. Okay, so let's look at how things are currently in Provo with these different ideas. So here's my grocery stores map. The darker the household point, I sampled a synthetic household, the synthetic population at the household level pinned to all the parcels in Provo, basically. I'm just showing a sample of points on the map here. But the darker the circle, the more grocery stores the person can access within the 10-minute band. So access to grocery stores is pretty good if you live close to Oro, because that's where a lot of the stores are. It's decent in Central Provo. Again, there's this distortion here because these people can get to the stuff in Springville because it puts them straight onto I-15. And access to grocery stores is fairly poor in Slate Canyon, which you would know, you would expect.
Right.
Yep. Elementary schools. again, you have great access to elementary schools in central Provo because there are a lot of schools there and you can get to lots of them in different directions. If you're on the edges of the city, your access is going down. The number of elementary schools you get to might not be the best measure because most people only need to get to one.
They're all by one.
They're all by one, right? And so maybe what we should do with this analysis, instead of counting how many can you get to in 5 minutes, can you get to one in 5 minutes, right? But that again is something you can choose to do. Transport nodes. The Oak Hills and Tree Streets neighborhood have pretty poor access to transport nodes relative to the rest of the city, which, having grown up there, you living there now, yeah, we get that idea. But if you live over here in the west part of Provo, you actually have exceptional access to transport nodes. So that's where the transport nodes are. So what we can do is we can add all these together, and I'm going to move this a little bit so you can see the rest of my equation. We can add up all of these different categories, so grocery stores, parks, trail, transport nodes, schools, and retail things, multiply them by this weight. I just picked the weights to kind of give a number. The weight on these retail outlets is really small because a lot of people can reach hundreds of retail outlets within a 15-minute band. So we've kind of scaled that one down. We've really scaled up the transport nodes in schools. You know, we could fight about what weights these should get, but that's a discussion for later. Okay, so that's our baseline. Now we can change the roadway network or change the land use to see how changes to these roads would make a difference. Okay, so I've got 3 roads. I couldn't add new roads in this analysis. I can only change the roads that were existing. That doesn't mean you couldn't, but I didn't here. So 2200 North between University Parkway and Timpview Drive, 700, 800 North between Geneva Road and 900 East, and Center Street between Geneva Road and 900 East. I took these 3 east-west corridors that kind of run across the city that we've talked about a lot, and we can make changes to them. So 2200 North, this is how accessibility would change if the entire road operated at free flow speed in the PM peak hour. So up here in the Tree Streets and Oak Hills, this person's composite access score increases by 2.6% if we take them from the level of service B that they're operating at now and move them to a level of service A. So there's a small increase in accessibility. Of course, this is not equally distributed across all types, right?
Would we say that road is running at C now? At peak time?
Yeah. What was the data you had? It was C or D, right?
I think it was level of service D or E, yeah.
Yeah.
At PM peak hour.
Yeah, not C.
Now, so that's current data. This is a few years old, so there may be a discrepancy there, right? So the baseline here may not be what the baseline is now, but this is if you make it totally free flow. This is how accessibility would change, and this is whose accessibility would change.
So Greg, when you point out a 2.6% for that one household or that one, so aggregately, that's just for that one.
That's just for that one household, and we'll look at the aggregate score later. And when I say this 2.6, this is across all of the weighted things. We could pick just transport nodes, right? So making this road operate at free flow speed takes this cluster of homes that are close to the mouth of Rock Canyon and effectively gives them access to one more transportation node within that 15-minute threshold.
10 houses.
10 houses, right? So it's a really small impact for a very small group of people. Yeah.
I'm sorry if you've already covered this, but when you say taking to a free flow speed, are we talking like freeway or?
No, this would be uncongested, right? So it's faster than the posted speed limit. I think it's like speed limit plus 5 is what the free flow speed set at.
Did you talk about what it would take to accomplish that? Or
No.
Well, I won't ask.
Yeah. Okay. Parks, right? Here a little bit more benefit is seen with a few a bit of a wider spread, right? These people can now get to some of the parks in Northeast Provo faster. These people can get to some of the parks in West Provo faster. Grocery stores, very small benefit for some people in Wymount. Fairly decent spread, but a small benefit for retail stores, right? So this is what we can. On the other hand, we can also look at what happens if we make this road, so there's a 1.1 volume capacity ratio. So this is definitely into the F range. And this is who would be hurt by that. Right? So it's a much different proposition. It's a wider spread. It's a deeper spread. So these people up in Oak Hills lose 13–14% of their existing accessibility if that road suddenly magically becomes level of service F. Yeah, that's right.
Game day.
So this is not our normal situation. This is well beyond. This is like crawling traffic. That's right. But the difference between a D and an F is pretty substantial. It's like, if you think of it as a grade, an A and a B are 10% apart, a D and an E are 10% apart. But in terms of like volume delay, a D and an F is like twice as bad as a D, and a D is like 5% worse than an A. Like it's not a linear change. Transportation nodes, yeah. So people living along this corridor would see a decrease in their ability to get to transportation, as would these people up near the mouth of Rock Canyon. You can click through a few of these, but we'll just go on to the next one. So this is 800, 700 north. We can do the same thing. Make that road operate at free flow speed. So this is 5 over the speed limit, effectively, for the whole length of the road. Now, treating this as one road, in reality, of course, you'd have to do some kind of thing, but we don't have intersection delay in this network, so people just kind of mesh through traffic signals, so we don't worry about that. Yeah.
Quick question, so I guess part of it was the light. So when you say free flow, that's assuming they get all green?
It's assuming that, yeah, they can move perfectly.
And then you're saying 5 above. I know with 2200, that's basically what people are driving already, but it would be unimpeded.
It would be unimpeded, yeah. So there'd be no vehicle.
So there wouldn't be a backup at the light.
That's right. And again, this network is aimed at regional planning. It's not aimed at like microscopic traffic delay. So it doesn't have like left turn pockets or permitted signals or things like that. It's just traffic kind of flows along it.
And this is still based all off of 2019 data.
It's relative to a 2019 calibration baseline. So
70.
delay is probably 3% higher than it used to. You know, it's not radically different. It's not like I went back to the 1980s.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, with 700, 800 north, here we see the benefits spread across a much wider area of the city. And some of the benefits are fairly big, especially for the people who live along it. And you know, they're different for different things, right? So parks, there's schools, retail, but again, the benefits are mostly for, you know, people across the core of the city. We make this road operate at level of service F. This benefit is much more symmetrical than the other one. So with 2200 north, making it really bad hurts a lot of people, and making it better helps a couple. But here it's much more symmetrical in terms of its effect and in terms of the number of people.
Corridor.
That's right. And the last road scenario is Center Street, where because I couldn't do the free flow speed because these are 15 miles an hour, I just set the whole road to 30 miles an hour, which means that some people out here actually see a decrease because that makes these lengths a little bit slower than the free flows in the existing condition. So this gets up. Most people have a positive benefit. Some people actually have a negative benefit if you make that whole corridor 30 miles an hour. I could have cranked it up to 40 to get rid of that, but that was So, but again, you see some of the same basic issues, like fairly large benefits for a few people, some small benefits for a lot of people, spread across mostly the core of of Provo West. Transportation notes, if you did this, right, you get a big band of people who benefit here from being able to get to one more. It doesn't really change anything for people who live in this area. And then for people who live up in the Tree Streets, Oak Hills, you get to another one. So, but yeah, so in this mid-range, so if you're close enough to I-15, you didn't see any benefit. If you're just at the right distance away, you get a bit of a benefit. But if you're in here, it doesn't really help you more than it used to. If you consider this as 15 in, 16 out, not really how people see things, but that's just how this analysis is done. And then we could make it slower, make it level service F, and okay. The other benefit of this analysis, or this way of analyzing things, is that you can also change the land use. You can change the points of interest and look at how that makes an effect. Because again, transportation is not just about the roads and the trains and the bike paths. It's also about the places people need to use those things to get to. So in this scenario, I added 3 grocery stores to Provo, unilaterally. I said there will be one west of on Center Street, west of the freeway. I said there will be one on 900 East where the Vasa is, that used to be a grocery store and has been a gym in various forms for a while, and on State Street in Slate Canyon.
You pick like the 3 person.
Yeah, I tried to maximize the appearance of this, that's right. But you know, if you put in these grocery stores, it doesn't affect anybody's ability to get to a park, right? Not at all. But it affects a lot of people's ability to get to an additional grocery store within that 10 minutes. And it's a pretty big jump, right? This person used to be able to get to 4, now that they get to 5, that's a 20% increase. And with the weighting we used, there's actually a pretty big benefit across the entire city from these grocery stores. And then again, we haven't changed anything about the roadway network. We've just given an additional point of interest, 3 additional points of interest. So we can look at these in aggregate, all our scenarios together. The way to read this chart is dots on the left mean that people's accessibility is going down. Dots on the right mean that their accessibility is going up. The colors indicate what kind of score it is, with this composite being sort of this pale green and like grocery stores being orange. The bars indicate the spread of that benefit, like some people get a little, some people get a lot. And the size of the dot indicates the percentage of Provo residents who would see that average benefit. So the bigger the dot, the more people benefit from it, and the further to the right, the more benefits they get. And so in all of these scenarios, the biggest and the largest composite benefit and the one that goes to the most people is actually the grocery store scenario. Adding 3 grocery stores would do more for Provo than making all of our roads free flow speed, or at least any of these east-west corridors. We could look at them together. We could look at other roads. Like we could play with these things. We could also decide that grocery stores are weighted too heavily in this analysis. Let's change some other things, and these numbers would change. Again, this is not like an analysis that should now be used in policy making, right? We would need to go through and figure out what the weights are,
What was your weight? 0.3? Your highest weighting was for grade schools.
Yeah, grade schools are 0.5. I think grocery stores are 0.2.
It wasn't incredibly high.
So it wasn't incredibly high, right?
Conceptually, it's like if you put the things people go to closer to them, you don't need as much traffic.
That's exactly right. Especially when you think of a place like Costco, right? You get the people from traveling from all the way out here on the road, plus the people traveling from here on the road, plus the people traveling from here, and all the traffic stacks up on the roadway. Whereas if you have another thing for them to go to, then the additive traffic problem gets less important.
So all of this is mobility, or not mobility, it's accessibility. It's not really measuring mobility, right?
That's right.
So like if you say 15 minutes to the freeway, But somebody lives an eighth of a mile off the freeway, but they have to drive parallel to the freeway for 15 minutes to get on, they're unhappy, right?
That's right. I mean,
So even
these
though
are
the
network
freeway looks
times.
good here, it's like, that's,
Yeah.
people aren't getting, like if you say, okay, if you're within 15 minutes, that's great. But if you're only a block away and it takes you 15 minutes to get there, you're mad.
Now, in this case, because we're using the network path travel time, it would get how far away they are on the network, not how far away they are in space, right?
Yeah.
Unless they happen to live immediately next to the freeway, in which case this method might make them use the freeway to get there.
I would love to see freeway on there, how long it takes to get to it.
Yeah, the freeway specifically, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's also dependent on your mobility and what form of traffic you want. Like if you want to walk, what is a 15-minute walking time versus driving time versus biking time?
Yeah, so looking at the limitations, right, like we could talk about which POIs are important to include and which ones are not, right? Calling all retail stores the same thing is probably not correct. Calling all grocery stores the same thing is also probably not correct, right? The Helaman Hall's Creamery shows up in this data set in the same form that Harmon's does, right? And that's not correct.
And like, I think accessibility to employment is really difficult to show because a lot of people, you know, they have to drive out of town to go to work.
That's right.
And where are they going? It's like, you have to look at the map.
But it's also tricky though, because like, yeah, you have to look at a wider scale, but people only have like 1 or 2 jobs, right? And so having access to 60,000 jobs within 30 minutes.
And everybody's specialized.
Like, you care about your own job.
And can't work, not all jobs are equal. In fact, they're very unequal, right?
Well, and we also have to realize that each person or family has a choice.
Yeah.
Of where they're wanting to live versus where there's some affordability issues there too, but it is a matter of, I like this neighborhood.
Right.
I live in this neighborhood, that immediately limits exactly what their mobility is, right, for existing conditions. So there is a matter of choice of individuals as well.
Yeah, I mean, everyone here is choosing in the form of constraints and things like that. Another big one is these are all hypothetical trips. This gets to your point about the employment thing, right? This is what you could do, not what you were actually doing. The activity-based model that WFRC is working on would allow us to do that kind of thing, where we look at a synthetic person, look at their modeled work location, and figure out how changes to the network would help or hurt them on their specific daily trips. That's a further step that requires more complex tools than I can crunch in a week. So yeah, there's a lot of limitations in this analysis. There are a lot of limitations in level of service analysis as well, right? But I think pairing these two analyses together helps us get a better picture of, well, who would benefit, who would pay, what would the benefits be, how widespread they would be. And I think doing this kind of analysis for these kinds of east-west corridor discussions would help Provo City make better decisions than just, oh, this road's really bad, let's make it wider.
If we were to settle on one of the 3 east-west corridors without the grocery stores, right? Because I get what you're saying, which is you put people what they want, where they're wanting to go close to them, they don't need to be on the network. But let's pretend that we don't get those 3 grocery stores. Then which of those 3 corridors comes out kind of as the leader that gives the biggest benefit?
Well,
all other things being, you know, just based on your score.
Yeah, so if you look at this composite, if you look at the composite score, Center Street and 800 North are pretty close. They both have kind of a wide spread, right? If your job was, we want to get people to transportation faster, then 800 North would definitely be the best. But, you know, some people would benefit a lot and some people would not benefit as much as the average of Center Street. I don't know that any of these can happen exactly as we put it, right?
Well, Center Street would be a fundamental change.
It would be a huge change. But I mean, if you made 100 North free flow speed and tied it in fast to Center Street, it would effectively be the same.
So if I'm understanding right, the according to this analysis, the thing that would actually have the largest impact on would be having more groceries.
Yeah, or, yes,
Are
that's
you
right.
gonna open a grocery store?
No, but what I think is interesting is the city's not in the business of building groceries. So
That's right.
I constantly see on Facebook, on the Provo pages, people saying, you know, the city needs to give us a West Side grocery. Well, the city doesn't, the city is not Kroger. So, but what is interesting is while the city isn't in the business of building grocery stores, cities all over the country have been in the business of creating subsidies for larger, further spaced apart, mega retail, grocery and things for years. And that's what's created this problem, is that Provo used to be dotted with neighborhood grocery stores. My business, my building was a grocery store, and there was one block away. And I just think that were groceries more expensive then than Walmart? Probably. But how much are we paying for road construction, for road widening, for gas, for travel time? Like, it doesn't make sense. So while the cities, I think, have created this problem, the cities, unless they want to go into the grocery business, can't fix it.
And it's interesting, you mentioned the West Side, and they have such great flow and everything because they don't have many people. And grocery stores don't want to go there because there's not enough people. Like, the same thing is, yeah, and you mentioned the incentives and stuff. So I've been taking a poll the last 5 years. Who email me? So it's just people who are, whenever it comes up, it's for 5 years, it's come up a lot. And I don't shop at Walmart, but everyone shops at Walmart. And it just cracks me up. I'm like, from wealthy to not wealthy. My thing was like, oh, let's get you a Days. Let's get you a Days on the West Side and on South. I love Days. You grew up there? Yeah, all the time. And when I lived in Southeast, when I lived in Southeast Provo, I just wanted Days every day. And so I moved back there. But talking to citizens, they always ask for Walmart. And I said, what was it getting? Let's shop there. That'll be ridiculous. They have ridiculous pricing. You know, it's such a hard thing. Because people want what they want. And they're willing to go spend $100 million Spanish Fork and Orem to shop at Walmart. Provo citizens. So I don't, it's like.
Well, I drive to Orem to shop at
Pardon?
I drive to Orem to shop at Harmon's.
So do I. But we spend, Provo citizens spend $100 million, just under $100 million at Springville and Orem for Walmart and the Smiths in Springville. I think that's what they want, that's what they choose to do. You do it.
Every Sunday night, I'm going to Walmart.
Her stuff's still on the shelf.
It's such a tricky thing, what people do want.
No, you don't know if there was a Days on the West Side, would people use it? I don't.
Well, but some of them have gone out, like that one Southeast, what was that one? It was such a horrible produce. Is that was a wood making place? Allen. You know, it didn't make it, the Amish store didn't make it. It's just sad, I don't know what the answer is.
Yeah, I mean, like, grocery stores, I have a paper being published next week about grocery store accessibility in Utah. And in doing the research for this, margins at grocery stores are super tiny.
They're so tight.
They're so small. And so by aggregating everything into a supermarket, you can actually run a functioning business on agglomeration, right? And so, and Days does not try to compete on price, it tries to compete on service. Right?
I'm gonna reel it back just
Yeah.
a little bit, just because it's great we're talking about grocery stores, but grocery stores is not what this committee is about. We're about transportation and how to get to places. So I appreciate the analysis on adding those grocery store points would make transportation easier, depending on choices people make of where they want to go shopping. I find it very interesting. The transportation nodes is kind of what I was focusing on a little bit, getting to and from the major transportation nodes, getting to the freeway, to the tracks, and making 820 faster and 2200 north faster and free flowing, how much that increases people's ability to get to the transportation nodes and get to the places, to go to these other places or to.
Well, it's a big change, but it affects a very small number of people, especially the 2200 north one, right? There are like 10 households that have a big change.
But the 800 north one, a lot of people.
Well, it's about 10% of Provo households.
It's it's more than about just the household. We had a presentation by IAC the other day at our work meeting. And, you know, they bring in, how
Please,
many employees was it that come
I
in?
think it was 2,200.
2,200 that commute in and drive their cars. And and they talk about ambulance trips. Like, their ambulance trips shocked me. I had no idea, because they do all the ambulances from all South Utah, you know, and they're extremely at an 820 wide and the freeway interchange there. And the difference, even ambulance times, they say it's equate to saving lives. And the speed at which an ambulance can actually get to the hospital from the west side and from South Provo, there's an interchange there instead of coming from so far, all through University Parkway or Center.
But so would a trauma center in Spanish Fork. Right? Like,
But they're still,
I mean, they're all driving past the hospital in Spanish Fork to get to the one in Provo.
ours is a higher level, right?
That's right.
I was gonna say, you have a regional hospital versus just a small trauma center. Even small trauma centers can't deal with certain things. They would have to go to the regional center. But
To me, if you're focusing on transportation, the other issue I see with accessibility is accessibility to businesses like Center Street and everything. Center Street, the interchange, the whole Center Street corridor, big talking point for it. And I appreciate the fact that you're focusing on accessibility and points of interest, because I think that's a really big thing for business owners, because if we have roads that are not functioning as they could be, Provo City's losing out on millions of dollars.
I think there's two sides of that coin, though, right? Where if you make Center Street so that cars can drive by it more quickly, you will actually kill the businesses that are there.
So my question on that is that to be able to help businesses, and as we're looking at transportation, because we want to thrive in downtown. So what alternative things can we do? We've talked about 100 North. We've talked about pushing to 300 South, because the state already has expanded that and made that a huge corridor. What are things that we as a committee could recommend to City Council, to the mayor, to say, hey, this would be something that could severely impact downtown Provo in a good way?
And I think this analysis that we've done here should not inform that discussion, right?
Well,
I think what we would need to do is take this and do it in a way that we can all agree on, and I mean the professionals that Provo City hires, or the consultants that they hire, to implement this as an additional way of looking at how Provo City functions. I think just looking at traffic.
Summary of how this analysis could help. What is your quick summary of how this analysis?
You see who benefits and how they benefit. Whereas a level of service analysis just says, let's make this road faster.
There's always multiple solutions to a problem.
That's right.
And the real world isn't nice like a math equation. So if you have everybody not commuting all far away along the same corridor, if you can provide them alternate places to be that satisfy what they're looking for, the traffic needs on that corridor don't exist. You're eliminating the problem before it's a problem. And that's honestly, ideally, the best thing you can do. Now, it's very difficult to implement. Like grocery stores, those 3 additional grocery stores, great. But can we here build them? Are we in that business, right? You build those grocery stores, that frees up the road for everybody else who uses those roads, so they should be happier. People have the grocery stores closer to themselves, should be happier. And you're avoiding having to fork out an intense amount of money to build up your transportation system, because people don't need to go that far for what they need. And that is the ideal, right? Now, that's not the reality we live in, but that is the ideal.
I mean, UDOT has spent untold millions trying to get everyone in Saratoga Springs out of Saratoga Springs every day, instead of just building some places for people to work in Saratoga Springs.
Yeah. Bernie had something.
Well, I think the clear picture is how important land use is tied to transportation. I think we're all aware of that, but I think a couple of these slides really took home how important that message is of land use associated. So I appreciate Greg's effort here to really show us how they can impact. I think Greg's to be recognized for his good work on that. And I think the healthy discussion that I'm hearing By the way, we're doing everything we can to get a grocery store in southeast Provo. we're doing some, yeah, we're recruiting, okay? I want to put an AT together, recruit a grocery store down there, but, it's happening, so.
I do think that if I could make one recommendation out of this discussion, I'll make two. The city engineers should think about this when they do these things. The second is, we have a liaison from the planning commission here. Do we have a liaison to them? Like, is there somebody on the transportation
I think
commission?
so, that's the first.
Is it the same person?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, that's fine.
I appreciate that you put this together, and I appreciate looking at the impact of these things. I would almost, I don't know, I guess I would recommend possibly sending this on to city council and to let them see if that's just as a document we could.
We can get a PDF of it, because we'll need to put it in the minutes, and we're happy to forward it on to anybody.
I can render this to PDF. It won't have the fancy scroll.
Rachel here. I just wanted to say the thing that I thought was interesting was usually when we have a new business or something going in and we look at the traffic study, we're concerned about the additional traffic that will be generated and the impact on, the local streets. And this was making me think about it differently, like the people who will be benefiting in the area by having that, attraction close to it. And I don't know that I've seen traffic studies looking at the benefit as opposed to just the burden in that way before.
Yeah, that's a really good point. California changed, and it no longer uses level of service analysis in its traffic impact studies. It's changed to something that is really unworkable and hard to deal with. But, and so I wouldn't recommend necessarily doing what they do. But thinking about this, yeah, like, not just the extra activity and where are all these people going to park, but will this actually reduce the distance people travel to get somewhere else? And would that be a benefit for Provo's roadways? Yeah.
Again, thank you so much for putting this together, and we would hope that this can be sent on to city council,
Oh, we're just looking to put a link.
kind of.
You can provide a link, just put the link to
Put the
it.
link in, that way they don't have to PDF that.
Mhm.
Or put the link in.
We have about 10 minutes left real quick, so I just wanted to get to the engineering project update. And I know we're gonna have more discussion on the east-west connectivity next time, kind of what I'd like you guys to think about for next time is kind of your final analysis on all the information we've heard about east-west connectivity and any major points or thoughts. I know I've got a couple written down here, and so next time we can talk about major points and thoughts on it and any potential ideas and or recommendations we might use. And then I'd like to turn it over to engineering staff for our updates real quick.
I'm going to quickly start with B, our State Street Trail update, from 300 South to 9 South. We ran into a storm drain issue where we had to go and redesign that. It's been a couple weeks redesigning, waiting for UDOT to approve that change, and then we're back to work on that. So if you haven't seen anything happening out there in 2 weeks, that is why. 600 South Trail update from 100 East or 100 West to 4th East is moving forward. It's under construction. The railroad has cooperated, and we're moving forward with that project. D, the 820 North Bridge ribbon cutting is this Saturday. It starts at ribbon cutting for the bridge and trail. Starts at 11 o'clock for bike decorating, and then at 11:30 we have some remarks from the mayor and Public Works Director. Ribbon cutting's 11:45, and then we get to ride underneath the bridge for the people have already been doing it. So we'll do that, and you can see the new mural that's under the bridge.
I heard it's awesome, I'm excited to see it.
That project came in just about 3 weeks later than we anticipated for the road, and about 6 weeks later than we anticipated for the trail. But we didn't want anybody disturbing the artwork while it was under construction. So it's better just to keep things closed instead of close, reopen, close, So, but the project is under budget. So we're very happy with the way that turned out. Dave Nicholson did an excellent job as project manager on that. I really believe that we want to invite all of you to come out for that on Saturday morning. So we'll be in attendance on that. Joseph, anything else you want to say about that? Great. Okay, and then University Avenue Bridge replacement update. Probably no one geeked out like I did. I went out there Saturday night and watched them take the beams off the big truck and then load the beams onto the bench, and then they got out of sequence, so then they had to load the beams off the truck and put it to the side, and then the next night they tried to catch up doing the work. But anyway, fun stuff, right? It was fascinating to continue to see that bridge going up. So excited. Anyway, if I can answer any questions on that, let me know. Kayhan's got the last 5 minutes. I'm going to head to my 1:30 meeting, and it's always good to see you guys, and I'll talk with you guys about the next agenda. Okay? Thanks.
Good luck.
Okay, well, what I'm gonna do is we're gonna do a quick update on our capital improvement projects. These are just some of the projects, not all of them. Here is our CDBG project. This is in Franklin neighborhood. We targeted a total of 12 intersections. 32 new ADA ramps were installed, and we did improve some sidewalks as well at the intersections, obviously. The total for that Franklin neighborhood was about 110,000-ish. We did get a total of 150,000. Mind you, again, this was a CDBG application. The remaining funding, which is about 35,000, we transferred that to another CDBG application that I did last year for Foothills neighborhood. This is close to the new Wasatch Elementary School. We did a total of 14 new ADA ramps there. We targeted a bunch of intersections, as you could see. This road right here, 1250 East, on the east side, the whole sidewalk, curb and gutter was improved. The other sections that you see, these are spot improvements at the intersections. Mainly, you're looking at ADA and curb and gutter improvements.
Grinding down sidewalk.
New sidewalk.
New sidewalk. Okay.
That was a big project. Only drove down.
1250 East looks a lot better. There were a lot of drainage issues. Obviously, ADA was out of compliance. The driveways were out of compliance. When we improved 1250 East, the west side, I had most of these residents, whenever they would see me, they would stop and like, hey, when are you going to do similar improvements on our side of the road? I let them know, unfortunately, the amount of funding that I had, I was able to only do what I'm able to do here, but I'll certainly reapply next year to make some more improvements if funded, obviously. This is some of the pictures of that 1250 East as well as the other locations in the Foothills neighborhood. And then 900 East, 900 South sidewalk improvement project. This was not a CDBG application. We used our capital funding to make some sidewalk improvements here. Project turned out really good. Again, on the other side of the road, west side of the road, we got a lot of interest from our residents. They want to see similar improvement on their side as well. This section did not have curb and gutter or sidewalk. So this is brand new sidewalk, brand new curb and gutter. It was a huge connectivity issue that we were able to resolve. We did install 2 new driveway accesses based on our residents' requests. And then obviously there were some ADA ramps that went in here. Part of the project, we also installed a new cross gutter. We had a cross gutter that was falling apart. We improved that, put a brand new cross gutter there as well. And more pictures of the project, obviously. This year, I applied for 2 more CDBG applications, and luckily we were granting funding. So neighborhood is going to be one of the projects that I'm going to design next year. We received about $250,000 worth of funding. There was a developer, a private developer, obviously, proposing a development, and they needed some extra help from the city side. In the past, we have never done anything similar to what we're doing for them, meaning going out of our way, finding a source of funding for them. But obviously, the developers idea was dependent on extra help from city. So we were able to get some funding, about $250,000 worth of funding. And we're gonna do curb and gutter, driveways, some stormwork, ADA, holdouts at the intersections, and some similar improvements. The other application that I submitted for next year was for Dixon neighborhood. I'm gonna do similar improvements that I did in Franklin. I'm gonna target ADA ramps where we currently don't have ADA ramps or the ramps are not up to standard. I did get about $150,000 worth of funding on this one, so those two will be for next year. That's it.
Good job getting all that money.
I would say, having dealt with these kinds of projects, the ADA ramps aren't necessarily as challenging. Putting in curb and gutter and sidewalk, you would think that would be less like a really easy thing to do from a design perspective. They're kind of the most challenging because you're dealing with all this existing stuff, trying to make it work. It's a lot easier to design a brand new road. Developers have it easy when they're plowing new ground, but, so hats off to the city staff, because that actually it's really quite difficult and interesting design.
Absolutely, yeah. This 1250 East section that we did, the existing sidewalk was way lower. And based on the design, in order to meet the requirements for basically driveway access slopes as well as sidewalk to curb and gutter, there was a lot of thought process that went into it. One of the solutions were to have curb wall all the way the project. Obviously, as you see here, we have a transition going on here. And the sidewalk is not 6 feet all the way. There's a transition to meet our basically slope requirements, tying into curb and gutter, and then on the other side, sidewalk tying into driveway, and then tying the driveway, new driveway to the existing driveways. The before or the old driveways were not in compliance. So the slopes that we have now, they're all in compliance. Slopes to curb and gutter to asphalt, everything is in
And
compliance.
meeting ADA and
Absolutely.
All the way down, right?
it's a pain. Honestly, doing these projects like this where they have
Way
little
more time
patchwork,
consuming.
they're
And
weird.
mind you, we didn't do all the curb and gutter. We just did
Where it was needed.
as little curb and gutter possible because obviously the funding was the major.
Good job on doing it right. BYU replaced 2 ADA ramps last year. Not in compliance. So good job.
Okay, well, that's it.
You could get them on that.
I probably have more say in what happens in Provo than what happens at BYU.
Although, anecdotally, we went to DC and we're down walking around the ADA ramps by the Department of Justice, which is the one that sets all.
They're the enforcers of the
They are
ADA.
the worst.
I bet.
The worst. They don't meet any of their own requirements.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, thank you again so much, and we will see you next, don't know the date next month.
I do want the colored pencils back, but your diagrams are yours.
Color pencil back, and we are adjourned. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.